note in the victim's hand. Hey, night listener. Tonight we enter the shadows. The rain falls like guilt, soft at first, then louder as it hits the rusted gutters lining the alley. A flickering street lamp throws stuttering light across the wet pavement. Your boots splash in a puddle you don't remember stepping into. The wind carries a faint scent of copper and cigarettes, one familiar, the other forgotten, somewhere nearby. A siren fades into silence. You pause under the eaves of a boarded-up bar. Broken neon flickers in the window. Open, but the place hasn't served a drink in years. The city breathes around you, slow and sour. If this story found you, maybe it's because you've been followed too. So, before we vanish into this mystery, like the video and subscribe only if you can handle the truth buried beneath the lies. Drop a comment. Where are you listening from? And tell me, do you crave the truth, the thrill, or the justice? Now lock your doors, take a deep breath, and follow me into the dark. The crime scene is already cold when you arrive. Not because of time, because of intention. There's no blood spatter, no sign of a struggle, just a single figure curled on the floor, eyes closed, lips parted, like she was whispering something no one bothered to hear, except someone did hear her, someone who wanted to make sure you did, too. You crouch beside the body. Her name was Claire Whitlow, former lover, brief flame, long regret. You hadn't spoken in 5 years. The paramedic nods and steps aside. She's dead, but her hand still curled around something. A scrap of paper, torn from a larger sheet. You pry it loose with gloved fingers. One sentence. Your name, first, last, written in her handwriting. Not rushed, not scribbled in panic. Placed there deliberately. Ink dry. She wrote it before she died. You're led outside for questioning. The detective doesn't look at you, just asks the routine. Where were you last night? Can anyone verify? What was your relationship to the victim? You answer all of it like a checklist. But inside, you're somewhere else. You're back in her apartment 4 years ago, watching her read by the window. She was the kind of woman who never trusted mirrors, only photographs. Said mirrors lied, but film couldn't forget. You once told her the past should be erased. She said, only if you've got something to hide. Back at home, you sit at your desk. You lay the note on the blotter under the lamp. You stare at it until your eyes blur. Why your name? Why now you haven't spoken in half a decade? Unless this wasn't a message for the cops. Unless she knew they'd find it, but meant it for you. You pull out the box, the one you swore never to open. Inside letters, old, unmailed, her handwriting, your lies. There's one envelope still sealed. No postmark, just your first name. You rip it open. Inside, if something happens to me, don't look for who did it. Look for who needed you to find it. Your hand tightens around the page. Because that sentence, it sounds like her, but it also sounds like a setup. And that only makes sense if the killer didn't want to cover their tracks. They wanted you to follow them. You knew, but pretended you didn't. Everyone lies, especially the quiet ones. It was never about the truth. It was about control. And this murder, it might not be the beginning. It might be the invitation. The photograph, you don't remember taking it. You don't sleep that night. You lie in bed, eyes locked on the ceiling, listening to the ticking of the old wall clock, a second-hand rhythm of accusation. Every tick feels louder than the last, like a countdown to something you've already missed. At 3:17 a.m., the doorbell rings. No knock, just the bell. Once, then silence. You move slow, like in a dream where your limbs don't belong to you. You don't turn on the porch light. You don't need to. There's no one outside, just a manila envelope lying on the welcome mat. No postage, no return address. You bring it inside, hands shaking before you even peel back the flap. Inside is a single photograph, 4x6, glossy, slightly curled. You stare at it. It's Claire, alive, in a chair, eyes closed, wrist bound. Your hand, your actual hand, is resting on her shoulder, thumbprint visible, familiar watch on your wrist. The photo is dated, time stamped, 6 days ago. But you weren't in town 6 days ago. You were at the conference. You spoke on a panel. You shook hands with 5 different people, 3 of whom posted pictures with you online. You check your phone. The timestamp matches. So, how the hell are you in the picture? You flip it over. On the back, 3 words. Do you remember? You don't? You want to say you don't? But that knot in your gut, the cold twist of memory out of reach, says otherwise. You stare at the photograph until your mind starts to crack along the edges of it. Was it doctored? No. There's depth, texture, light bouncing naturally off skin. It's real. And you were there. Or someone wearing you was. You make a list. People who could have taken it. People who hate you. People who envy you. People who know you well enough to get this close. And you realize the list is too short, too clean. No one's this clever. No one who's still alive. Unless this has nothing to do with Claire at all. Unless this has to do with you. You take the photograph to the only person you trust to look at it objectively. You find her at a 24-hour print shop downtown. Lexi, ex-girlfriend, ex-journalist, still sharp as glass, and twice as dangerous. You don't explain the whole thing. You just hand her the photo and ask, "Can you tell if this was altered?" She studies it for 3 minutes without blinking, then says, "This was taken with a Leica M10. Expensive, manual, rare. Nobody fakes this kind of photo." You ask how she knows. She doesn't answer, just slides the photo back across the table and says, "Whoever took this wanted you to see it and wanted you to know you were seen." You hesitate. Then you ask the question that's been pressing on your lungs since you opened the envelope. "Do you think I could have done it?" Lexi doesn't blink, doesn't flinch. She says, "The version of you I knew, no. But the version of you I didn't." She lets the sentence hang, lets you finish it in your head. Or you go home. You sit at the desk. You take out the photograph again. You study your hand, the curve of the knuckle, the vein along the back. It's yours, but it isn't. It's like looking at yourself in a mirror that tilts slightly off axis, close enough to believe it's you, until something in your gut twists and whispers, "That's not quite right." You dig out the old film camera from your closet, load a roll of black and white. You take a picture of your own hand, same angle, same lighting. Develop it in your bathtub, the way Claire taught you years ago. Lay the 2 photos side by side, almost identical, but yours has a small scar on the ring finger. The one in her photo doesn't. You sit there for an hour, listening to the clock tick again, and then you realize this wasn't a photo of you. It was a photo meant to look like you, but someone went through an awful lot of trouble to make sure the real you saw it. You knew, but pretended you didn't. Everyone lies, especially the quiet ones. It was never about the truth. It was about control. And the clue wasn't proof of guilt. It was bait. The man who smiled like you. You don't remember falling asleep, but you wake at your desk, the photograph still in your hand, your neck aching, the window wide open, even though you're sure you closed it before sitting down. The wind moves through your apartment like it belongs there, like it's returning. And on the floor, beneath the window, face down on the hardwood, is a new envelope. No stamp, no seal. Inside a transcript, typed, single spaced, standard 12-point font. A police interview. You scan it quickly, your breath tightening with each line. Interview. Witness, Ms. Genevieve N. Date, 2 nights ago. Location coffee shop on the corner of 6th and Weiler. Subject, identification of suspect leaving scene of crime. The first question is procedural. The witness's answers are calm, clear. Until this line, he looked familiar. Not just familiar exactly like someone I know. Same height, same jacket, same eyes, but the way he smiled. That wasn't his smile. I've seen the man you're talking about a dozen times. He never smiled like that. You sit back in your chair. It's not the words that scare you. It's the certainty in her description. She saw you, but something was wrong. And she trusted that instinct because she noticed the detail most people overlook. The smile. You rush to your closet, pull out the jacket she mentioned. Black corduroy, slightly worn at the cuffs. There's something in the pocket. You turn it inside out. A receipt from a diner you haven't been to in 2 years. Dated the night of Claire's death. Signed D. Farris, a name you used once for a hotel check-in. During a trip you told no one about. A name you invented. At least, that's what you thought. You head to the diner. Same worn boots, same flickering sign. You sit at the counter. The waitress recognizes you, smiles. I thought you were headed out of town, she says. Didn't expect you back so soon. You don't respond. You just ask, was I here? The other night. She looks puzzled. You were here. Remember, you left that red notebook on the table. I put it behind the register. She disappears, then returns with it. It's yours, sort of. Same style you use, same brand. You open it. Inside, page after page of neat block handwriting. Not yours, and yet familiar. On page 14, a phrase jumps out. Smile like it's real, not like him. You flip to the final page. There's a single sentence written in red ink. He smiled like you, but he watched her like a stranger. You leave the diner, shaken. The notebook pressed against your ribs, like it might crawl into you if you loosen your grip. Back at your apartment, you drop it on the table. You pull out your phone. You check your calendar. 6 months ago, a block of 5 days is marked off. You'd labeled it writing retreat. You remember that trip, sort of. You remember the drive, the forest cabin, the quiet, but what you don't remember is coming back. There's no photo trail, no receipts, no emails, just a void. And now you're beginning to wonder, was that you? Or someone who knew how to be you better than you did? You go to the bathroom, look in the mirror, really look. Your own eyes stare back. But something about the reflection is off tonight. The tilt of your head, the way your mouth twitches into a smile, except you weren't smiling. And now, your reflection is just slightly, like it heard something you didn't. You slam the door shut, lock it, but the smile lingers in your memory. The same smile the witness described. Not cruel, not crazed, just wrong. You knew, but pretended you didn't. Everyone lies, especially the quiet ones. It was never about the truth. It was about control. And the man they saw, he didn't steal your face. He borrowed your mannerisms. He smiled like you, but only because you taught him how. The watch, set to the wrong time. You find the watch in the drawer where you keep things you've tried to forget. Old lanyards, ticket stubs, a photo of her from a night you both agreed never to talk about again. The watch is right there, still ticking, still yours, except it isn't set to the right time. It's 4 hours behind, the exact time of death on Claire's coroner report. You hold it in your hand like it's a lie you forgot to destroy. The band still smells faintly of sweat and cologne. You never wear it anymore, not since your phone replaced your wrist. But here it is, still working, still keeping time for someone or something. You check your phone, 3:21. The watch reads 11:21. You rewind it manually, slowly, each tick snapping like a breath caught between truths. When you finally align the time, the second hand freezes, then clicks once and stops. You stare at it, because suddenly you're not sure the watch was ever meant to tell you the time. Maybe it was set for someone else. Maybe it marked a moment you weren't supposed to see. You call the coroner. You lie and say you're Claire's brother. You always had the voice for persuasion, a tone that bends just enough to slide under locked doors. She's annoyed but compliant. Says the time of death was narrowed between 11:15 and 11:25 p.m. You thank her. Hang up. Stare at the watch again. It stopped at 11:21. You put it on. It's heavy, familiar, and wrong. Like slipping into someone else's story halfway through and realizing it's your name on the cover. Later that morning, the mail arrives. A padded envelope, unmarked. You tear it open. Inside, a USB drive and a yellow post-it stuck to the outside. Time doesn't lie, but people do. You plug the drive into your laptop. A single file, mauve. You hit play. It's grainy, black and white security footage. You recognize the hallway, Claire's building. You watch as the timestamp flickers, 11:19. Now 11:20. At 11:21, someone enters the hallway. Male, medium build, hoodie, gloved. You can't see the face, but the watch glints under the sleeve. Your watch. You lean closer. The man reaches Claire's door, knocks 3 times. She opens it, smiles, says one word. You read her lips. You. He steps inside. The door closes. The timestamp rolls on until 11:25. Then the door opens again. He walks out, pulls the hoodie down. You freeze the frame, zoom in. It's your face. Except you weren't there. You couldn't have been. Unless someone replayed your life without asking permission. You pace the room. Try to reconstruct the timeline. You were home, asleep. You ordered takeout. You have the receipt. But receipts don't stop someone from copying your face, from borrowing your past. You check the footage again. On his wrist, just beneath the jacket, a scar, thin, pale, crescent-shaped. You touch your own wrist. No scar. Not yet. A knock at the door. You freeze, heart in your throat. You approach slowly. Look through the peephole. A delivery man. Flowers. You crack the door. He hands you a small bouquet. No smile. No eye contact. Just a white card attached. You close the door, lock it twice, and tear the envelope open. It reads 11:21 was a message. Tick-tock. You're running behind. You scan the flowers. White lilies. Claire's favorite. The stems are tied with a ribbon, looped around something metal. A small watch battery. Exactly like the kind in your broken timepiece. You take off the watch. Open the back. The battery's gone. It never had one. It's been dead all along. Ticking on memory. You sit on the floor. The USB drive still blinking softly in your laptop. The photo of Claire on your desk. The smile on her lips that night she called you back in. And the voice in your head that won't stop whispering. She opened the door because she knew who it was, because she thought it was you. You knew, but pretended you didn't. Everyone lies, especially the quiet ones. It was never about the truth. It was about control. And now you're wearing a watch that doesn't tell time. It tells when it all began. The key you swore you threw away. It's nearly dawn now. Grey light slips under the blinds, casting long bars across the living room floor, like a prison cell without the dignity of walls. You haven't slept. You've barely blinked. The USB drive still pulses faintly, a reminder that even evidence breathes when you're not looking. You need air. You step outside. The pavement is still wet from the early rain, and the neighborhood feels deserted, like the city hit pause. The newspaper's on your stoop. You pick it up and hear something metallic shift inside the folds. You drop it, crouch, unroll it carefully. A key, wrapped in a page torn from today's paper. The obituaries section, circled in red, Claire Whitlow, 36, taken suddenly, with questions still unanswered. Beneath it, a scrawled sentence in shaky handwriting. Not everyone gets a second chance. Don't waste yours. You pick up the key. Small, rusted, brass, and impossibly familiar. You recognize the notches, the crooked stem, because you had this key once. You carried it in your wallet for 2 years. It opened a lockbox Claire kept under her bed, the one she said was for emergencies only. You threw it away after the breakup, buried it in a trash can behind a gas station off the interstate. But here it is, cold in your palm, waiting. You drive to her old building, the same one from the surveillance footage. The landlord left the unit untouched pending the investigation. You know how to get in. You always knew. You kept the access code, even after you told yourself you'd forgotten it. The apartment smells like the past. Clean, floral, a little burnt around the edges, like someone tried to erase something too fast. You step into her bedroom. The bed is made. The window is cracked just like she always left it. No matter the weather, you drop to your knees and reach under the frame. Felt lining, the edge of the wood scraped in the center where fingers often searched. You find the lockbox, still there, still locked. You fit the key into the rusted hole. It turns without resistance. Inside, a single cassette tape, a Polaroid, and a ring. Your ring. The one you lost the night she ended things. The one you thought slid down the storm drain in the parking lot after you flung it away in anger. She kept it, or someone returned it to her. And the Polaroid, Claire, sitting at the kitchen table. She's looking down, writing something. In the background, through the window, a figure, blurry, wearing your coat, but the reflection on the glass. It shows the figure looking directly at the camera, smiling. You slide the cassette into your pocket. You don't have a player anymore. You'll find one. You leave the lockbox open. Leave the ring. You already know what it means. You walk back into the hallway and pause. On the wall just outside her bedroom, a small framed quote. The past always knows the way back home. You remember when she bought it from a thrift store. She laughed when she read it, said it was eerily accurate. You didn't laugh because you knew exactly what she meant. Back in your car, you take a detour. You drive out past the city, past the highways, until you reach the woods, the retreat cabin, the one from your calendar, the one you don't remember returning from. You approach slowly, key in your hand. Not the same key, a memory key, one that turns in a lock you're afraid is still inside you. The front door is open. Someone's been here. You step inside. It's clean, too clean, but something is off. The rug. You move it. And there, carved into the floorboards beneath, you left the door open. You sit on the couch, pull out the photograph again, the timestamp, the smile, the reflection. You knew, but pretended you didn't. Everyone lies, especially the quiet ones. It was never about the truth, it was about control. And the killer left a clue. Not for the police, not for the press, for you, because you still have the key. And that means this isn't over. It never was. A whisper from the morgue. You find a pawn shop on the south side of the city, the kind with dirty glass cases and a no returns sign duct taped to the wall, the kind where money is exchanged in silence and no one ever asks why you're buying a cassette player in 2025. You pay in cash. The man behind the counter doesn't even blink. Back home, you slide the cassette into the deck and press play. It clicks, whirs, and then her voice, faint, shaky, raw. This is for you. If you're hearing it, it means you never answered the last call. You freeze because the tone isn't one of anger, it's resignation. I saw you, or maybe it wasn't you, but he wore you like skin. He said the right things, but the way he looked at me, I didn't recognize the gaze. I recognized the calculation. You lean in. She pauses. Then, softer. If something happens to me, don't chase the shadow. Chase the silence. The silence knows more than the mirror. The tape crackles. You fast forward. Near the end, there's a short sentence I left a whisper behind. Not for them. For you. Click. The tape ends. You eject it. Your hands are trembling. That whisper, you know what it means. She left something in the place no one wants to look. The morgue. You go there after dark. Use the credentials you still have from an old freelance story you never filed. The clerk doesn't care. It's a skeleton shift. She just points down the hall and waves you through. Claire's drawer is still sealed. You open it. Carefully. She looks peaceful, but her face still carries the echo of a final moment unshared. Her lips are parted, as if her last breath got caught on one final word, one that never escaped. You don't look long. Instead, you check under the sheet. Nothing taped to her skin. You move to the side of the drawer, inside the groove, etched in black marker, so faint it could be overlooked. Wrong wrist. You lift her left hand. Perfect. Pale. You gently take the right. You turn it over. There, tucked under the medical bracelet, is a sliver of paper, so small it could have been part of the bracelet itself. You pull it free. It reads, "It wasn't you, but it wanted to be." You sit in your car for 20 minutes before you can start it. The whisper wasn't for the cops. It wasn't for her family. It was for you, because she knew you'd come. She always knew you'd chase what scared you, even if it wore your face. Back home, the apartment feels colder. Your reflection in the window blurs against the night. You pull out the paper, flip it over. There's more, in even smaller writing, barely legible. He said the first clue wasn't for them. It was for you, because you knew where to look. You remember something. The last time you visited her apartment years ago, she had a painting on the wall, an abstract mess of lines and negative space. You hated it, but she loved it, called it her visual lie. You called it nonsense. Now you wonder. You drive back to the apartment building. No one stops you. No one's guarding the door anymore. The crime scene tape is gone. Just a stain on the threshold now. You step inside. Everything is as you remember it. You walk to the wall. The painting's still there. It wasn't taken as evidence. Why would it be? It meant nothing to anyone, except maybe you. You take it down, turn it over. taped to the back a folded photograph. You unfold it slowly. It's you, Claire, a third figure behind you both, blurry, grinning, fingers poised in a peace sign. But here's the part that makes your blood run cold. It's not a photo you remember because you're facing away from the camera, which means you weren't the one taking it. You were being photographed. And that third figure, he isn't smiling at the camera. He's smiling at you. You knew, but pretended you didn't. Everyone lies, especially the quiet ones. It was never about the truth. It was about control. And the morgue only whispered what you already feared. You're not alone in your skin. The message, etched into her mirror. You wake with the painting still leaning against the wall. The photo, tucked inside it, keeps sliding out, like it doesn't want to be forgotten again. The edges are curling now, warped from your grip, but the third figure's smile never fades. That mockery, that ownership, that confidence, like he knew something you didn't, or worse, remembered something you chose to forget. You keep replaying the whisper in Claire's final message. Don't chase the shadow, chase the silence. So you go back to the place you once called home, to the apartment you shared with her during that strange, quiet year when everything looked fine on the surface until it wasn't. You don't expect the landlord to remember you. He doesn't. But he remembers Claire. She was the quiet one, right, he says, leaning on the door frame, always looking over her shoulder. Polite, though, polite like she had something to apologize for. You get the key. You lie and say it's for closure. Truth is, you're not sure what you're looking for, only that something unfinished waits behind that door. You open it. The space is cold, untouched. It smells like dust, plaster, and old arguments, and something else beneath it all. Lavender and metal. You step into the bathroom. It's all still there. The cracked tile, the crooked towel bar, the humming fluorescent light that never stopped buzzing, and the mirror. You stare into it. You look like yourself, almost. Then you breathe, and your breath fogs the glass. And then the message appears, scrawled in fingertip strokes across the condensation. One sentence, I know you're not him. You freeze. You wipe the mirror. The words vanish. You exhale again. The glass fogs. But you let him in. You stumble back, hands shaking, because now you remember something. Not a moment, not a day, a pattern. The way Claire started locking the bathroom door even when she was just brushing her teeth. The way she began recording phone calls. The way she started sleeping with her back to the wall. Eyes always open just a little longer than yours. She wasn't afraid of strangers. She was afraid of the version of you who couldn't remember what he'd done. You check the medicine cabinet. Empty. Except for one thing. A lipstick tube. You uncap it. There's no makeup inside. Just a rolled piece of film, wedged into the casing. You pull it out carefully. It's labeled in a handwriting. Exposure for don't develop alone. You stare at it. It's light safe, intact. But you don't have a dark room anymore. And suddenly, you're not sure you want to see what's on it. You know where she'd go. You know where she'd trust. You drive. Lexi meets you in her converted garage studio. It still smells like coffee, chemicals, and half-buried tension. You hand her the film without a word. She doesn't ask, just raises an eyebrow. Then she sees the writing on the label, and her whole expression changes. Claire's, she asks. You nod. She holds the film like it might scream if handled too roughly. I'll need 10 minutes, she says. You wait in the car. You can't sit still. You tap your fingers against the steering wheel in groups of 3. like you used to when you were nervous or lying. 10 minutes did become 20. Then the garage door opens. Lexi steps out, face pale, jaw set. She doesn't say anything. She just hands you the print. One image, Claire tied to a chair, same as the Polaroid. Terror in her eyes, a man behind her. Not blurry this time, sharp, clear. His face is yours, down to the scar above the brow. But his eyes, they're empty. Lexi says nothing, just stares at you. You feel the photo go limp in your hands, like it wants to fall, like you want to fall. You drive home in silence. No music, no thoughts, only one echo pounding through your skull. You let him in. Back in your apartment, the mirror in your hallway is fogged again, but the air is dry. You walk to it slowly, reach out, swipe your hand across the condensation. Nothing there now, but in the reflection, you're not alone. Over your shoulder, just behind you, standing in the shadow by the door, a shape, still, smiling, and when you turn around, no one's there. You knew, but pretended you didn't. Everyone lies, especially the quiet ones. It was never about the truth, it was about control. And Claire didn't leave a message to accuse you. She left it to warn you. You were never the only one wearing your skin. Her voice on a voicemail. You erased. You lie awake with the photo on your chest, eyes open. Every shadow in the room pulses with suggestion now. You play the image over in your head like a movie on loop, the ropes around Claire's arms, the expression twisted in horror, the figure behind her with your face and someone else's intent. You try to find a flaw in it, a manipulation, something that proves it's a fake. But deep down, you know it's not, because part of you remembers the angle of that shot, the sharp tungsten light in the corner of that room, the smell of fear like iron in the air, and worst of all, the silence, that calm, unbearable silence you once mistook for safety. You plug your phone into the wall. It lights up, 12 missed calls from unknown, no voicemails. You open your deleted folder. Nothing, but you remember Claire called you the night before she died. You didn't answer. You did listen to the message, then you deleted it, and now you wonder why. You open the app, dig into the hidden storage, recover recently deleted files. One entry, dated the night she died. No number, just voicemail 001 M4A. You tap it. The sound clicks on, and there she is. I know you won't pick up. I wouldn't either, but I had to try. I saw him again. You freeze. The tape crackles faintly in the background. He waited outside the building, wore the same coat, the same voice, but it wasn't you. It looked like you, but it wasn't you. Her breathing stutters, a muffled sound. Something knocks against a surface. He said something. I wrote it down. I left it for you. If I'm gone by the time you find this, it means he got inside. You pause the message, close your eyes, because you already know where to look. You return to her apartment again. It's the third time, maybe the fourth. Each visit, you notice something different. This time, it's the lamp, the one by her desk. You remember it having a broken pull chain, but now it's fixed. Brand new chain, polished brass. You reach inside. Wrapped around the cord is a scrap of paper. I only ever told you that story. You unfold the note. There, in her handwriting, the first time I knew I loved you. You were crying in your car. You didn't say anything. You just looked at me like you needed permission to fall apart. Your chest tightens. You remember the moment. A rainy night, an unpaid parking ticket. You sitting in the front seat with hands clenched on the wheel. jaw locked, and her watching you from the sidewalk. You'd forgotten about that night. Until now. At the bottom of the note, if he says he remembers this, he's lying. You slide down to the floor because something cold is crawling up your spine. It's not just that he wore your face, it's that he tried to wear your memories, but couldn't. Not fully. He knew what to say, but not what it meant. And Claire spotted the cracks. She always did. You leave the apartment and drive without knowing where you're going. You end up at the overlook where you used to meet her in secret, back when you were still figuring out who you were, and she was still pretending she didn't already know. The wind is sharp, the sky dark, but on the railing, taped carefully with medical tape, a burner phone. You look around, no one. You press the power button. It's fully charged. One contact, a number saved as him. You press call. It rings once, twice, then a click, a breath, then your voice. You're getting closer. I was wondering how long it would take. Your grip tightens. Don't bother trying to trace this. You don't need to find me. I've already been in you. You're the one who let me out. The line goes dead. No message. No trace. You throw the phone into the trees. It doesn't matter, because he said it. In you. You return home. Replay Claire's voicemail again. You listen to the breathing, to the fear, to the calm in her final words. Whatever he is, he thinks he's you, but only one of you was capable of regret. That's how I know the difference. You knew, but pretended you didn't. Everyone lies, especially the quiet ones. It was never about the truth. It was about control. And this time, the voice you erased, it came back to court whether you still had a soul left to save. The journal, that Rigiditatus writes back. You're not sure when you fell asleep, only that you wake with a start soaked in sweat, heart hammering as though it's chasing something in your chest. The burner phone is gone. Even though you watched it sail into the trees, even though you heard it land, you sit up on the couch and find something on the coffee table that shouldn't be there. Your old journal, the one you burned in a fire pit 5 years ago, the one you swore no one else had ever read. Its leather cover is scratched, worn but unmistakable. You reach for it with trembling hands. Your initials are still carved into the bottom right corner. Only now, there's something else carved beneath it. Property of him. You flip it open. The pages are blank at first. Then, halfway through, words appear, written in block letters, neat and precise, but wrong. You forgot who wrote first. Now it's my turn to remember for you. You keep turning pages. More writing appears as you flip, like it's waiting for your touch to activate it. Then you reach a page marked with an X in red ink. Your hand recoils, because it's written in her handwriting. Claire's. If you found this, you know it wasn't your memory that failed. It was stolen, eaten. A pause in the lines. Then, he doesn't need a name. He needs a door. And you left it cracked open the night you forgot to grieve me. Your breath catches, because you remember now. That night you sat in your car for 4 hours, didn't cry, didn't scream, didn't even think about her. You just drove away. And that's when the dreams began. You flipped the page again. Another message. He's not after your guilt. He's after your shape. And if you don't reclaim the truth, he'll finish becoming you. You close the book, but your reflection in the window is still watching, smiling again. The same tilt of the head, the same wrongness. You grab the journal and drive. This time, to the only person left who knew you before Claire, before any of this, your brother. You haven't spoken in over a year. Not since the funeral. Not since he looked at you across the casket and said, quietly, "You don't look like someone who just lost everything." He opens the door like he was expecting you. You don't ask how. He gestures silently for you to come inside. You do. The house hasn't changed, but you don't recognize the smell anymore. Like someone else has been living here, or something else. He doesn't ask questions, just points to the journal and says, "It started when you came back." You ask, "Back from where?" He stares at you. "Wherever he took you." You blink, sit down slowly, ask him, "Did you notice it first?" He nods. "I noticed when your smile never touched your eyes, when your stories lost their texture, when you hugged mom and she cried after, not because of sadness, because of instinct." You slide the journal across the table. He opens it, reads, eyes narrowing. Then he says, "The last thing you want to hear. You wrote this before and after." You lean in. After what? His lips tighten. He nods once toward the backyard. You step out, and there, buried in the frost-hardened earth under the old oak, a second journal, wrapped in plastic. You dig with your hands, cold biting your skin. You pull it out. Different cover, same initials. Inside, one phrase written over and over: "I am not me." Dozens of pages, dozens of lines. Then a date, 3 days before Claire's death, and a final sentence: "He needs me to forget, so I remember now, even if I don't want to." You drop the journal. The cold seeps through your spine, because that's when you understand. You didn't survive this untouched. You didn't escape. You've just been outweighted. You knew, but pretended you didn't. Everyone lies, especially the quiet ones. It was never about the truth. It was about control. And the journal didn't just hold your memories. It held the boundary between who you are and who he's almost become. The clock that counts in reverse. Your brother doesn't say goodbye when you leave. He just stands at the threshold, one hand braced against the doorframe, eyes never meeting yours, as if too much recognition might pull something through. You carry both journals under your arm, and still, it doesn't feel like enough. Back at your apartment, it's quiet, but wrong quiet. The kind that isn't absence of sound, it's the presence of waiting. You sit on the couch. You spread the journals out on the floor, side by side. The old one you thought you burned, the one your brother unearthed from the cold dirt. You flip to a random page in the second journal. There, scrawled in hurried ink. He doesn't move forward. He moves backward. Every time you forget, he remembers more. Your eyes move to the bookshelf. The antique clock Claire gave you is ticking softly on the mantel. A gift from a trip you never took together, but she said it felt like you. You never wound it, but now it's ticking, loud. You rise slowly, walk toward it. The hands don't show the right time. They're spinning backwards, not fast, not aggressive, just steady, as if undoing something. You reach out to stop it. Your fingers graze the minute hand, and a vision slams into your skull. You're standing in Claire's apartment, but it's not empty. It's not crime scened. It's alive. She's there, in the kitchen, laughing. You see yourself sitting at the table, writing something, but your hand is moving in reverse, unwriting, erasing. Claire turns to you, eyes wide, mouth forming a single word: "Run." You're back in your apartment, collapsed on the floor. The clock has stopped. You pick it up. There's a slip of paper wedged behind the faceplate. You pry it open. The paper is yellowed. One word written in all caps: "Trust." You flip it over. In smaller print, just because it looks like you doesn't mean it remembers what it cost. You don't sleep. You go back through every file Claire ever sent you, every half-finished message, every audio note. You find one you missed buried in an old Dropbox backup. It's only 8 seconds long, but her voice is sharp, certain. He's following your path in reverse, which means you'll meet him where you began. You get in the car and drive back to the university, the place where you met Claire, the beginning of it all. The library's still open barely. You talk your way past the night clerk with a lie so smooth, even you almost believe it. You go to the basement archives, where you used to hide between the shelves, where you kissed her for the first time, where you left that old student film project behind, and where, apparently, he has already been, because there's a file waiting in the microfilm reader, labeled, "You'll need this next." You load the reel, it flickers, then projects an image. It's not a document, it's a frame from your film. The protagonist based on you standing in a hallway with a stranger who looks just slightly wrong. The stranger smiles, raises a finger to his lips, and behind him, spray painted on the wall in red, "The end is never at the end." You pull back from the viewer, heart racing, because you remember filming that scene, but you don't remember painting that wall. You don't remember the extra in that shot, and you don't remember who came up with the final line. Back home, you pull out both journals. You open to the center of each, compare the handwriting, the style, the pressure. At first, it seems the same, but then you notice something subtle. The older entries loop letters clockwise, the newer ones counterclockwise, like they were unwritten instead of written, reversing through you, undoing you, like you were the typewriter and someone else was backspacing your identity one line at a time. You knew, but pretended you didn't. Everyone lies, especially the quiet ones. It was never about the truth, it was about control. And the ticking clock on your shelf, it's not counting the hours left, it's counting the memories he still needs to steal. The room behind the wall that wasn't there. Before you wake to knocking, not on your door, on your wall. 3 slow knocks, even, hollow. You don't move at first, just listen, counting your own breath to anchor yourself to something that still belongs to you. Knock, knock, knock. You rise slowly, barefoot on cold floorboards, and press your ear to the wall. It shouldn't be hollow. That side connects directly to your neighbor's unit. There should be insulation, pipes, a kitchen behind it, but it sounds empty, like someone carved space out of time. You tap the wall. It answers once, then silence. You find the claw hammer under the sink. Your fingers feel unfamiliar wrapped around its handle. You press it to the plaster and knock again. Still hollow. You pull back, swing, crack, dust spills out like breath held too long. You tear through the drywall layer after layer until something gives way. An opening, a door, no handle, no hinges, just a sliver of space, perfectly shaped like absence. You wedge your fingers in and pull. The wall peels back like skin. Behind it, a room, small, windowless, lit only by a desk lamp with a red bulb, and on the desk, a file folder, labeled in sharp, black ink, subject you. You step inside. The door doesn't close behind you. It just vanishes, replaced by solid wall once more. You don't panic. You just breathe. Because panic is his emotion, not yours. You sit at the desk, open the file. Inside, a photo of Claire, marked primary contact. A second photo of you, dated 6 months ago, annotated beginning of conversion. A series of typed pages with timestamps, each labeled event infiltration. One final page with a question, handwritten in red. How do you know you're still you? You flip it over. More handwriting. What memory haven't you checked yet? You close your eyes. Dig deep. Not the big memories, birthdays, breakups, funerals, but the small ones. Details no one could fake. You remember a scar on your left ankle earned falling off your bike when you were 8. You remember the smell of burnt popcorn in the second floor dorm where you and Claire first kissed. You remember the code she made up for I love you. 143. One word, 4 letters, 3 syllables. You open your eyes. The desk now holds a single object, a voice recorder. You didn't see it there before. You press play. It's your voice, but the tone is wrong. Dead. If you're listening, it's already begun. He's not a person. He's a pattern. He doesn't steal your life. He convinces you to hand it over. Click. Another file begins. Claire's voice, whispering. It's not about resisting. It's about remembering the pieces he can't steal. A pause. Then, he doesn't know about 143. That's how I'll know it's really you. You gasp, because suddenly the symbols start to line up. The phrases he never used, the moments he got wrong, the things he repeated like a script with missing pages. The red light flickers. The desk drawer slides open. Inside a mirror. But when you look into it, it doesn't reflect. Not you, anyway. It reflects the version of you from the photo. From Claire's death. Eyes too empty. Smile too sharp. The reflection waves, and then smears its own mouth into a straight line. It writes a message across the mirror in fog. I'm tired of pretending. Aren't you? You drop the mirror. It shatters. No sound. No echo. Just absence. You turn to the wall where the door was. It's back. The outline faint but pulsing, like a heartbeat inside drywall. You press your hand to it. It dissolves. You walk out into your apartment. Everything's exactly as you left it. Only now the red lamp from the hidden room is sitting on your kitchen table, still glowing, still watching. You knew, but pretended you didn't. Everyone lies, especially the quiet ones. It was never about the truth. It was about control. And now you understand he doesn't live in the shadows. He lives in the places you refuse to remember. The stranger who knew your name before you spoke. It's raining again, soft, constant, like static, bleeding through reality. You sit at the window with the red lamp unplugged but still glowing. Its light spills over your coffee table like blood diluted with truth. You stare at it, waiting for it to fade. It doesn't. Not even when you bury it under a towel. Not even when you shut your eyes. You step out for air, past the sidewalk where Claire used to pace when she didn't want to cry inside. You walk until the city starts forgetting itself, where streetlights flicker and stores don't have names. And there, under the awning of an all-night diner that's never open, a man waits. Coat too familiar, posture too still. He watches you like a mirror that's seen too much. You keep walking. He steps in beside you, and without turning, says, "You dropped your story." You freeze. You never told him your name. He smiles. "It's all right. I picked it up for you." He holds out a slip of paper. You don't reach for it. You don't need to, because you already know what it says. 143. The code. The one only you and Claire knew. The one he never used. But now, he does. You finally speak. "What do you want?" He shrugs. "You, or the version you used to be?" "Honestly, I'm flexible." You ask, "Why now?" He looks at you. Really looks. And then, "Because you're cracking. And once you're hollow, I fit better." You walk away. You don't run. That would only prove he still scares you. He doesn't follow. He doesn't need to, because now he's inside the story again. Back home, your phone buzzes. A new voicemail, no number. You listen, Claire's voice again. If he knows the code, then he's not just copying, he's remembering. Which means he found something deeper, something you left behind without meaning to. You clutch the journal to your chest because it's not about hiding anymore. It's about unearthing. You return to your storage unit, the one you forgot about until this moment. A key taped to the back of a photo frame jogs your memory. Unit 109. You walk through rows of cold metal doors until you find it. Inside boxes, old clothes, evidence of a life paused mid-sentence. You search until you find it. The shoebox with Claire's initials carved into the lid. You open it. Inside a locket, a cassette tape, a single Polaroid of you both at a lake smiling, unafraid, and a letter addressed simply, if he knows this exists. It's too late. You unfold it carefully. Her handwriting is sharp, fast, like she wrote it while watching the clock. I didn't tell you everything because I saw it in your eyes. He wasn't just near. He was trying you on. And every time you doubted yourself, you handed him a sleeve. But you have one thing he'll never own. The memory of choosing me. Not the details, not the photos, the decision. You chose me even when I was broken. He doesn't understand that because he only sees people as pieces. He doesn't love. He assembles. Your throat tightens. You turn the letter over. There's a final note. So choose again. Not for me, for you. You drive to the lake, the one from the photo. It's quiet, gray. The sky doesn't seem to end. You walk to the edge of the dock, drop the cassette in, watch it sink. Then the locket, then the journal. You keep the photo, because he doesn't deserve to have it. When you turn around, the man from the diner is there, standing at the edge of the trees. He raises one hand, not in threat, in farewell. Then he fades, not like a ghost, like a curtain drawn back. You drive home with silence in the passenger seat, but this time it's yours. You knew, but pretended you didn't. Everyone lies, especially the quiet ones. It was never about the truth. It was about control. And now, for the first time in a long time, you feel like the story might finally be yours again. The apartment that rearranges itself at night. The photo sits in a glass frame now, propped on your nightstand. You've studied it so many times. The colors feel burned into your memory. Claire's windswept hair, the lake glinting silver behind her, your hand in hers, just slightly out of focus. A real moment, untouched, unrehearsed. Every night since the lake, you've watched that photo before bed, and every night since the lake, your apartment changes, not drastically, not suddenly, but subtly. A drawer that used to squeak now slides smoothly. A floorboard that never creaked now whines every time you cross it. The clock still ticking backwards, even though it's unplugged no longer strikes on the hour, but in time with your breath. You measure these shifts with a notebook, a new one, blank. You don't dare use the old journals again. Every morning you jot down differences, like an archivist of your own reality. And this morning, you wake up in your living room. You don't remember falling asleep there. The couch pillow beneath your head smells faintly of lavender and metal. You sit up, look around. The red lamp is gone. The mirror in the hallway is missing. In its place, a square of clean wall. No dust, no nail hole, as if it never existed, as if it was never allowed to. You pick up your notebook. Last night's final line. The mirror's still there. If it vanishes, I know he's back. You stare at it, then underline it. Twice. You search the apartment from corner to corner. Nothing else changed. except for the photographs in your hallway gallery. They've been reversed, each one mirrored, faces turned the wrong way, rings on the wrong hands, smiles curling in reverse. A note pinned beneath one now reads, "If I can't have the memory, I'll settle for the frame." You tear it down, breathe, call your brother. No answer. His voicemail sounds off an old recording you haven't heard in years. You redial, busy. You redial again, nothing. You leave a message, just in case. If things start turning backwards on your end, don't wait. Get out. You return to the photo on your nightstand. It's still correct, still real. You take it down and check the back. A new message has appeared, written in marker that wasn't there yesterday. You keep choosing her. That's the problem. You close your eyes, you breathe. 3 counts in, 3 counts out. Then you grab the notebook and start writing a plan. Step 1. Return to the point of origin. Step 2. Identify the next place he'd rewrite. Step 3. Leave a piece of you in every memory. Something only the real version would know. The next stop is the school, not the university or high school. The one you left behind with every awkward year packed into a locker. You haven't thought about it in over a decade. But when you arrive, you already know what you're looking for. The old newspaper clippings on the second floor trophy case. A story you wrote once for the student column one Claire convinced you to publish, even though you hated your voice on paper. You find it, still framed, faded. Your byline beneath the headline, "The Truth About Being Invisible." You remember every word, but someone's scribbled over the last paragraph in black ink. You scrape it off with your thumb. The original sentence re-emerges beneath it. You only become invisible when you stop looking at yourself. And beneath it, new writing. He hates this line. That's why it still matters, is you walk the halls in silence. Every locker echoes a little longer than it should. You pass a window. Your reflection isn't alone. Someone stands behind you again, still, waiting. You don't turn. You just walk faster. Not away from him, but toward you, back home. Another note waits on your bathroom mirror, written in condensation, already fading. You're winning. Stop now. You knew, but pretended you didn't. Everyone lies, especially the quiet ones. It was never about the truth. It was about control. And your apartment may rearrange itself, but you've started rearranging him. By remembering who you were before he ever showed up, the door that only appears in dreams. Tonight, you don't fight sleep, you invite it. You want to find the door, the one that's been lurking in the edges of your dreams, blurred in mirrors, half open in reflections, pulsing at the edge of waking. Claire always said, if you want to kill the nightmare, you have to meet it where it sleeps. So you lie back, hold the photo to your chest, and drift. When the dream takes you, it does so gently. You're walking a hallway made of memory. The floor beneath you is a patchwork of rooms you've lived in. Your childhood bedroom, Claire's kitchen, the alley where you lost your wallet, but not your life. The hallway stretches on, endless, as if time itself has collapsed into a single, looping corridor. You keep walking until you see it. The door, rust red, no handle, just a keyhole carved into wood that seems to breathe. You kneel, press your ear against it. Nothing. Then a whisper, so faint it barely registers, but it's your voice. Don't open it, not unless you're ready to see who you could have been. You stand. Press your palm flat against the surface. It burns, cold, and then it clicks, opens. Not outward, not inward, but down, like a trapdoor in your own mind. You step through. The room below is impossible. A void filled with versions of you, photos, videos, scribbled pages, all slightly off. You with different eyes, you with no scar, you smiling in ways that feel like teeth with no soul behind them. And in the center, seated at a typewriter that types by itself, him, not the man from the diner, not the reflection, something worse. You recognize the eyes, but the face is blurred, as if even the dream won't let you know who he really is. He looks up, smiles. You've been editing, he says. I don't like being edited. You stay silent. He gestures to a screen behind him. A reel of your life plays backward. Claire's death rewinds into a breath, then into a smile, then into a moment you don't remember. You walking away from her, alone, by choice. He pauses the reel. You gave me space when you stopped feeling. Now you want it back. You clench your fists. Ask, why me? He laughs. Because you fit. You were empty in the right ways. You take a step forward. The room trembles. A piece of your journal drops from the ceiling like snowfall. One word scribbled across the torn paper. Enough. You speak it aloud, and the reel burns. He flinches. You say it again. Enough. The typewriter begins to melt. He stands, not in anger, in fear, and you realize he can't create. He can only repeat, mimic, reshape what you forget, but you remember now. Claire's love, your tears, the lake, the door, your choice. You shout the word one last time. Enough. And the dream collapses. You wake gasping, covered in sweat. Your bed is soaked, but you're alone, utterly alone. No notes, no mirror messages, no ticking clock. You glance at the photo on the nightstand. It's warm in your hand and different, because now Claire is looking directly at you, not the lens. You flip it over. 3 words. Close the door. You nod. Write it in your notebook. Seal it with tape. And for the first time in weeks, you sleep again. Dreamless. You knew, but pretended you didn't. Everyone lies, especially the quiet ones. It was never about the truth. It was about control. But now you've reclaimed your narrative. And the only door that matters now is the one you refuse to open again. The message, hidden in your own voice. You wake to silence. Not the oppressive kind, the watching kind, but a different silence. One that feels earned. Like an empty stage after a curtain falls. You stretch your fingers across the notebook. Still sealed, still yours. You flip to the next blank page and write 2 words in bold. I'm back. Your phone lights up. No number. 1 new voicemail. You hesitate. Your thumb hovers, and then you play it. But it's not Claire's voice, not the stranger's, not your brother's. It's yours, but softer, more hesitant, like a version of you trying not to be overheard. If you're hearing this, it means the fracture closed, but the scar might still itch. That's how you'll know he's still watching. The message pauses. Then there are pieces of him in every moment you chose to forget. So don't forget again. Remember deliberately, even the ugly parts, especially those. A soft click, end of message. You sit there, letting the words settle like ash after fire. You check your call log, no record. You check your audio files, nothing. But the voicemail still echoes in your memory. The cadence, the phrases, the warning. You scan the room. Everything's where it should be. Nothing reversed. No missing reflections. No red light humming from the corners. You think about the dream again, the door that opened downward. The versions of you that watched without blinking. How many of them are still waiting? You shake the thought, because that's how he comes back in second guesses, not screams. You walk to the mirror, the hallway one. It's returned, exactly where it used to be. You stare into it, not for reassurance, but for confirmation. You blink. You don't flinch. You see yourself. No mimicry, no delay, just you. And then you speak out loud to your own reflection. I remember everything you tried to erase, and for a second, your reflection nods, as if agreeing, as if saying goodbye. You take out your recorder, the same one Claire once gave you when you were too afraid to speak on stage. You click it on, press record, start talking. Your voice at first trembles, but then steadies. This is the first day I'm speaking without him listening. I know because I can feel the quiet. And it's not sharp anymore. It's soft, real. If you're listening to this in the future, if you're afraid again, remember that survival doesn't mean silence. It means speaking louder than the voices trying to wear your skin. You click stop, label the file. My voice, not his. You save it twice. Cloud and drive. One to remember, one to remind. You light a candle in the window. Claire's candle. The one she only used when storms knocked out the power. Tonight, you light it by choice and sit in its glow. No need to check the mirrors anymore. No need to test the locks. If he returns, he'll find a different home. One filled with memory, ownership, voice, and truth. You knew, but pretended you didn't. Everyone lies, especially the quiet ones. It was never about the truth. It was about control. And now you've claimed the silence, and he has nowhere left to whisper. The photographs that develop. After midnight, you fall asleep early, not from exhaustion, but peace, a rare kind, the kind that feels like closure you didn't ask for, but desperately needed. No dreams, no doors, no whispers, just dark. Until 2 Saturday 13 a.m. Your eyes snap open, not because of a noise, because of a knowing. You walk into the hallway, and that's when you hear it. The click, soft, mechanical, old. You follow the sound to your desk drawer, the one where Claire's Polaroid camera has lived, untouched for years. You left it empty. No film, no batteries. But tonight, it's sitting on the desk, warm, and there's a photo resting beside it, face down. You hesitate, then turn it over. It's a picture of your apartment, taken from inside, from a high corner, an angle impossible without floating. You're in the photo, asleep, face turned toward the camera, one hand reaching toward the nightstand. You drop the photo, step back, and then you see the second one, still developing. You watch as the image fades into view. This time your reflection in the bathroom mirror, only you're not facing forward. You're turned away, but the reflection is looking straight at you. You open the back of the camera. It's empty. No film, no power. You toss it across the room. It lands with a dead thud. You flip the second photo over. A message has appeared in red ink. If you want to stay real, stop posing. You pick up your recorder. Hit record. It's back, or trying to be. But I think it can't exist without my attention, without my fear. So tonight, I give it none. This is me, recording instead of remembering. That's how I know it's mine. You press stop, file it. You write it in the notebook too. I am not the photo. I am the one holding the camera. Morning. No new photos, no red lights, just sun through the window. You throw the Polaroids in the fireplace. Watch them curl, smoke like lies, finally exhaled. You call your brother. He picks up, voice tired, but alive. I had the dream, he says. You ask, the hallway. He says, no, the dock. Claire said to tell you, the number never changed. You nod. Say nothing, because that was the last code between you and Claire, before she went quiet. And now, you know. He remembers too. He's still himself. You visit the grave that afternoon, not Claire's, your own, because that was the last thing the imitation tried to erase a life never quite lived, so easy to rewrite. But you filed for a marker years ago, a placeholder when the search parties thought you were gone. You never took it down, didn't have the heart. Now, you kneel before it and write a new note. This isn't mine anymore. Someone else died in my place. You leave the note on the stone, walk away. No backward glance. That night, you scan your apartment one last time. You light the candle and make a rule. No more photos after midnight. No more questions that don't deserve answers. You knew, but pretended you didn't. Everyone lies, especially the quiet ones. It was never about the truth. It was about control and your reflection. It only speaks if you keep asking who you are. Tonight, you already know. The tape recorder that plays things you never said. The day feels normal. You go for coffee. You speak to strangers. The world feels unpossessed, unhaunted. You even forget for a few hours, forget the mirror, the clock, the dream door. You almost believe you've won until you come home and the tape recorder is back on your kitchen table. You didn't bring it there, didn't touch it in days. It's on, rewound, waiting. A note beneath it reads, play me or I'll play myself. You stare, not scared, but daring it. Then you press play. Your voice floods the room, but it's wrong again. Not just tone, not just pitch intent. You're recounting events that never happened. Claire laughing on the dock after the night she died. Your brother admitting to betrayal. A final sentence. He agreed to forget. I agreed to become him. You press stop hard. The button sticks. You rewind and play it again. Different voice, same mouth. Now it says, memory is democracy. The majority wins. You're the last one who disagrees. You eject the tape. Nothing inside? No reel, no mechanism. Just absence where logic should be. You throw it across the room. It shatters. Nothing inside. No wires, no speakers, no battery. Just shell. You check your recordings. Yours. The ones you made to hold on to the truth. Some are intact. Some are overwritten. You listen to one. The message starts as yours, familiar, steady, calm. Then halfway through, you made a choice, and I made the edit. We're co-authors now. Don't pretend otherwise. You delete it, smash the recorder, burn the remnants. But deep down, you know he found a way back in. That night, the dreams don't come, but the audio keeps playing in your head. Faint whispers at the edge of sleep. I'm not in your house. I'm in your sentences. You bring me with you when you talk to yourself. You write a new rule in your notebook. Speak less, write more. He doesn't read. He listens. You go silent for 2 days. Mute. Testing it. Every moment you want to narrate your life aloud. You resist, and things stabilize. No lights flicker. No notes appear, no reversed clocks, but the silence grows heavy. And on the third day, you wake to a sticky note on your forehead. Miss me yet, you laugh. A dry, tired thing, because you finally understand. He doesn't want control. He wants dialogue, a two-way story, call and response, narrator and listener. You're the last one who won't let him finish the book, and that makes you dangerous. You record again, but this time you whisper, barely audible, a single phrase: I'm not a character. I'm the one holding the pen. And you don't save the file. You delete it immediately before he can wear it like skin. Later that night, you return to the fireplace. All the scraps of failed identity photos, tapes, red notes, they burn easily now because you're not preserving memory anymore. You're curating it. You knew, but pretended you didn't. Everyone lies, especially the quiet ones. It was never about the truth, it was about control. And the voice in your head, it's quieter now because you stopped giving it a microphone. The handwriting that isn't yours anymore. You find it by accident on your grocery list. A note you didn't write but looks almost like your penmanship, only tighter, more precise, like someone copying you with too much concentration. The item reads milk, eggs, forget. You stare at it. The third word throbs, the pen ink still fresh. Even though you haven't shopped in days, you flip the list over. More writing. You're remembering too hard. Let me help. You tear the list in half, flush it, but you don't stop thinking about it. Because the handwriting, it's not just on your list. It's in your notebook, 3 pages back. A sentence you didn't write. You cried in her arms once. Want me to remind you how it ended? You double check every page. Compare strokes. Letters, there are dozens. Slipped between your memories, like mold between walls. Tiny edits. Rewritten versions of things that happened or didn't. It's like he's reauthoring your past in your own script. You underline the fakes in red. One stands out. You saw her fall. No, you didn't. You remember the scream, the silence, but not the fall. Never the fall. And now it's there, implied, seeded, like he wants you to fill it in yourself. You go to Claire's old apartment. It's been sold, gutted, repainted, but you talk your way in. Say you're an old friend. Closure. The woman lets you walk the halls alone. You trace the edge of the banister where Claire's hand once gripped during arguments. Find the loose floorboard in the corner of the bedroom closet. Under it, a tiny black notebook, one you never knew existed. You open it. Inside, her handwriting, chaotic, unfiltered, real. It begins, if you're reading this, I must have lost, but if I'm still me, then you have a chance. He's not just mimicking, he's mining, pulling emotion like data. Don't just feel, verify. Every sentence is a warning disguised as memory. And at the bottom of the final page, you'll know he's closest when you forget how to write your own name. You go home and do just that. You sit, grab a pen, write your name, slowly. But when you finish, it looks wrong, just slightly. A curve too high, a tail too long, like someone else tracing you. You try again, same thing. On the third attempt, you whisper, it's still me. And finally, your hand steadies. The signature becomes yours again. For now, and you knew, but pretended you didn't. Everyone lies, especially the quiet ones. It was never about the truth. It was about control. And the handwriting crawling through your memories. It dies when you pick up the pen with intent instead of instinct. So tonight, you write. Longhand, page after page. Not for memory, not for proof, but to prove he doesn't own your voice, even when he speaks in it. The friend who doesn't remember you anymore. It begins with a text, a number you haven't seen in years. Is this still you? It's from Maya, your closest friend from before Claire, the one who held your hand the night your father left, the one who introduced you to cassette tapes and Truth or Dare, and the idea that silence can be safe if someone is sitting in it with you. You write back instantly, "Yeah, it's me. You okay?" The reply comes a minute later. "I had the dream. The hallway. Your name was carved into the door. Your breath stutters." You type, "Did you open it?" Silence. Then, "Not yet." You call her. She picks up, and everything's wrong. She speaks like someone who learned your voice from a podcast, like she's reading from a script with missing pages. She remembers Claire, but says she was a roommate, not a partner. She remembers the lake, but says it was frozen. You ask, "What did I whisper to you when I was falling apart that winter?" She says, "You said everyone leaves except me." But that's not what you said. You said, "If I disappear, trace the red thread backward." And now she's rewriting you. You try again. "Where was our spot?" "The place with the tile you carved into." She hesitates. "Is this a game?" You hang up, because you've played it before, and you always lose. Later that night, you receive a voicemail from Maya, but not her Maya. The voice is distorted, flattened, and the message is simple. If your friends remember you wrong, you stop being real. I'm just helping you move on. You tear open your closet, find the old high school yearbook, flip to the page with your picture. Your name has been changed to his, not a real name, just a placeholder, a shadow where a person used to be. You go to Maya's apartment. She answers the door in sweatpants and tired eyes. "You okay?" you ask. She squints at you. "I've seen you before, haven't I?" That's when you know he's not inside your home anymore. He's spreading like doubt. You press your palm to her arm, gently. Say the phrase only you two ever used when panic attacks hit 2 feet. One floor. No mirrors. Her eyes twitch. Something breaks. She says your real name, the right one, and starts to cry. You spend the night there, not because you're scared, but because you're trying to prove something, that memory can still be rescued, that identity is retrievable, that people don't vanish, they get overwritten, and you can restore them. In the morning, Maya hands you a note, folded, quiet. You open it. If he's learning your story, write a new one. But this time, don't write alone. You smile. Write one word beneath it. Agreed. You walk home differently. Not lighter, but aligned. Because if he wants your connections, he's going to have to take them all at once. And you won't let that happen. Not again. You knew, but pretended you didn't. Everyone lies, especially the quiet ones. It was never about the truth. It was about control. But the thing about lies is, they unravel fastest when you say them to someone who already knows the truth that waited, where you buried it. It, you return to the one place you never thought you'd revisit, the cabin, not the lake house, the other one. The first place you and Claire ever went to disappear, where the walls were thin, the bed too small, and the silence safe. You haven't been back since she died. You told yourself it was grief, but now you know better. It wasn't grief, it was fear, because somewhere inside display base is the one thing you hid even from yourself. You arrive near dusk. The driveway is overgrown. The mailbox still has your fake names carved into it. June and hollow. You smile, despite everything, unlock the door, and step into stale air and memory. Nothing's changed. The mug she chipped, the ashtray she never used, the crooked painting of a horse you both swore looked like it was screaming. You sit, wait for it, the echo, the flicker, the twist, but it doesn't come, because this place, it was always yours. You walk to the floorboard beneath the old fireplace. The one Claire used to call the second safe. It takes effort, but you pry it up. Beneath it, a box, not labeled, just tied shut with red thread. Your hands tremble as you open it. Inside, the original cassette, the first one. Claire's final letter never mailed. A small red leather notebook, yours. You didn't remember leaving it here. You open it. The first page, I don't trust my voice, so I'll use my hand. The second page, he can't follow where love wasn't manipulated. And then, scribbled across the third, the clue he left was meant for me. You stare at that line, over and over, because suddenly it clicks. Not metaphorically, literally. The phrase on the third page matches the phrase in the fake photos, in the reversed handwriting, in the voicemail. But this, you wrote it first. Years ago, you wrote it about him. You just forgot, because he made you forget. He left a clue for you, but it was your clue. You planted it. You fought back before the fight even started. He didn't create the script. He found your discarded outline and tried to take credit. You light the fireplace, burn the fake cassette, keep the real one, play it. Claire's voice fills the room, not frightened, not broken, but clear. He'll always be waiting in the unspoken. So speak, loudly, even when your voice shakes. Especially then, you'll forget me, maybe. But if I'm part of the parts you rebuild, that's enough. You sleep there that night, and in your dreams, no doors appear, no hallways stretch, no voices whisper, just stars, just a dog, and Claire, smiling, not warning, just smiling. You wake, no fear, just cold air and morning birds. You take the red notebook and begin to write. Page 1, a new version. Not because he's watching, but because you are. You knew, but pretended you didn't. Everyone lies, especially the quiet ones. It was never about the truth. It was about control. But now you hold the pen, and that's all the power you need. The fire has long since died, but its warmth lingers in the wood. You sit by the last of the embers, listening not to voices, but to silence the real kind. The kind that doesn't stalk or mirror or rewrite. The kind that waits gently, asking nothing from you but presence. You flip through the red notebook again, not searching this time, just remembering. Some pages are blank, some smudged, one torn out. You let them be. Not every story needs an ending. Some just need a boundary. Outside, the sun rises behind the trees, casting long shadows that no longer feel like warnings, just shapes, just time passing. You watch the light crawl across the floorboards. Claire once danced on barefoot. No music, just the rhythm of rain on the roof and a heartbeat in sync with yours. She isn't here, but she was. And now, she's woven into the sentences you reclaimed. The truth didn't come in a flash of clarity or a perfect revelation. It came in pieces, fragments, edges. You didn't find it. You chose it again and again, despite the noise, despite the voice, despite the killer who kept trying to speak in yours. There's still a part of you that wonders if the shadows might return. But that part is smaller now, less a warning, more a scar, a reminder that the past isn't a trap unless you stop rewriting the present, that the killer left a clue meant for you, but you left one for him too. You survived. You told the story, and this time it's yours. So rest now. Close the notebook. Dim the lights. The fire's gone, but you're still here, and that means something, even in the dark, especially there. End of script. Sleep well, and watch your back.